ever. Nevada hits the track with both guns blazing as Jason McDaniel, the fastest man in the WSL, returns to the track.
Now that we have Jason McDaniel skating, he's the fastest guy in the WSL. We have the total package.
I'm ready to skate, baby. Let's get it on.
So saddle up. It's the Texas Rustlers against the Nevada Hot Dice. Next on Roller Jam.
From Universal Studios in Orlando, Florida, this is the World Skating League. Tonight, it's the Texas Rustlers taking to the bank track to battle the Nevada Hot Dice. Welcome, everyone, to Roller Jam Arena. I'm Ken Resnick, along with Lee Rehrman and roller derby legend Buddy Atkinson Jr. The Texas Rustlers, a team that very honestly has never been able to put it all together. They do have a lot of skilled skaters, but they just have not been able to jive. On the other side of the coin, the Nevada Hot Dice seemingly on a roll, buoyed by the return of Richard Brown, and obviously they did miss his coaching experience. And even more so tonight, they get Jason McDaniel in the lineup, the fastest skater in the World Skating League, coming off a broken collarbone, his Roller Jam debut. Lee Rehrman, on the Texas Rustlers, really, I think the women have a little bit more skill than the men do.
Well, these Texas Rustlers, you hit it on the head. They have a lot of skill, but they're like a headless horseman. You've got, for the women, Laura Heiser's got a bunch of speed. Tink Miller can bring physical play like nobody else in the World Skating League, as well as a spark plug, Renee Blevins. But these guys never are able to put it together. And for the Hot Dice women, you've got a real coming on of Shay Brown. She models herself after Denise Loden of the Florida Sundogs, and she makes Mindy Smith, the fastest women's skater for the Hot Dice, that much better. And those two together are a power punch that have really come along in recent weeks in the World Skating.
And certainly for Texas, the only woman that could stay with Mindy Smith would have to be Laura Heiser. Buddy Atkinson, what does this do to Nevada? They get Jason McDaniel back. He's a tremendous skater, but how does he blend in with their plays? He's never been on the track with them so far.
He doesn't have to worry about blending in. You got Richard Brown in there, who is a terrific caller of plays. It makes a team come together. Richard Brown is there. We've got, on the other side, Gallagher leading his team. And I'll tell you what, Gallagher's going to have to be watching out for McDaniel.
Buddy, you brought up a very good point. What a matchup this could be. Brian Gallagher against Jason McDaniel, the two fastest men in all the WSL. I hear the music. That means here comes a Texas Rustler. The Rustlers led out by their cheerleaders, kind of the hard luck team of the WSL. Some great skill players. They've just never been able to put it all together. And Hawk, I think Texas really needs to look to the Brian Gallaghers, the Sigmund Williams, or on the women's side, the Laura Heiser, to step up and lead by example.
Well, these guys, you're right, Ken. They're talent-rich, but they're leadership poor. And we've seen flashes of brilliance. We've seen flashes of speed. We've even seen great blocking by many of these Texas Rustlers, but we haven't seen it consistently, and we haven't seen the leadership consistently either.
And here come the Nevada Hot Dice. The Nevada Hot Dice, without a doubt, the showiest team in the WSL. Kim Hart, Laura Weintraub, Micah Martin have never met a camera they didn't like. Of course, Richard Brown's leadership and the long-awaited debut of Jason McDaniel coming up. McDaniel rumored to be the fastest skater in the WSL on a team that's already the fastest. Now standing by in the stands, Danny Wolf.
Mark D'Amato at bag. You're sitting here watching, of course, little Richard Brown. But Rusty Montgomery, what are you doing here? What are you rushing bat? Are you a pledge?
Oh, no. I'm just sitting here with my buddy Mark enjoying the game.
Don't worry about what Rusty's doing. That's none of your business.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not. I'm here to tell you, I'm here in support of Richard Brown and his battle against the Rustlers. And I will give him any support he needs during this game.
Well, how about Rusty? Is he in?
Don't worry about what Rusty's doing.
Well, he's awful cocky for a guy who's lost his last two games, Ken.
Well, I'll tell you, I've learned never bet against Mark D'Amato. Starting for the Hot Dice, Shay Brown, Katie Cooper, Mindy Smith, Laura Weintraub, and Mandy Osborne. For the Texas Rustlers, Laura Heiser, Renee Blevins, Talisa Miller, Carrie Johnston, and Laura Lavin. And a lot of long-awaited debut coming up in the second period again. Rumored to be the fastest skater in the WSL. We'll be seeing Jason McDaniel, but right now it's the women on the track. And breaking out very quickly for the Nevada Hot Dice is number 36. That's Mindy Smith, their quickest one, and coming out is Laura Heiser for the Texas Rustlers. Two of the fastest girls on the track for their respective teams, and certainly for the Texas Rustlers, who have obviously had their problems in this WSL season, getting off to a fast start. Paramount for this group of cowboys from the Lone Star State. But unfortunately, it's Mindy Smith closing very quickly on the pack. Drops Lavin, and now a big double block being set up by Talisa Miller and Carrie Johnson. We'll see if Smith is able to come by and break through. Shay Brown now dropping back, talking some strategy with her teammate. Let's see Shay Brown. They're trying to set up, it looks like a reverse double whip. And Brown uses her body to shield Mindy Smith. Smith goes high and very quickly puts 2 points on the board for the Nevada Hot Dice. Big assist to Shay Brown.
And Mindy Smith is a great jammer who's really come on for the Nevada Hot Dice, Ken. We saw her about mid-season show that she was a speedster to be reckoned with here in the World Skating League, similar to what we can look for with Jason McDaniel for the Nevada Hot Dice men in the second period.
You saw Richard Brown gathering the Hot Dice men. They have missed his leadership, and I'll tell you, the Dice could get themselves on a roll with Brown back, and now the return of Jason McDaniel. But now coming out, this is Talisa Miller, number 48 for the Texas Rustlers. I beg your pardon, it's Renee Blevins, a spark plug, along with 33, Kim Hart out of Canada. Hart, the leader of the Nevada Showgirls, and certainly the leader of the Nevada Hot Dice women. Blevins, though, is a little short, but plays with a very big heart. She'll get as physical as she needs to. Kim Hart, now you see again, Hart, the helmet unstrapped. Kim likes to play to the camera, and sometimes she's been guilty of showboating more than keeping her eye and focus on the game. We'll see how she comes out now. In this, the second jam, her team off to a very quick 2-0 lead. You see both Talisa Miller and Laura Weintraub dropping back in the rotation to try and block out the respective jammers. A good job right there by Talisa Miller, keeping Kim Hart from getting by, and Laura Weintraub doing the same against Renee Blevins. A little unusual for Weintraub. She is more of a jammer. She throws down the helmet. Time runs out on the jam. It's scoreless, but now here's Miller and Weintraub going at it.
Well, Laura Weintraub is one of the showgirls and part of that showgirl sizzle that the Nevada Hot Dice have really looked for all season, Ken. She hasn't delivered early in the season, but she's really done a good job here late in the year to get it done, and we'll be back after this.
Hot Dice over the Texas Rustlers. We've talked about it so many times. The Rustlers show flashes of brilliance, just can't seem to put it all together. And now you see the jammers at the back of the pack trying to work their way through. Coming up on the inside, that's Mindy Smith. And now a good job of blocking out by the Rustlers, trying to prevent anybody from getting out. We'll see who finally breaks out. Here comes Laura Heiser. She gets out, and the first thing that happens so many times, down she goes. Smith now going high, reaching back, takes a whip from Katie Cooper. And Mindy Smith again now finally coming out is Pam Hutchinson, number 46. And Buddy Atkinson. Hutchinson has a very unusual skating style.
Yes, she does, but you'll notice how hard she's pushing here, and it loses the balance just a little, but regains it. Now Pop, a nice little block, the slide block in there.
And it's Pam Hutchinson and Mindy Smith. Mindy Smith, of course, the faster of the two. Obviously, she realizes it. She just turns right around on her skates, calls Hutchinson up. Smith completely unconcerned about any speed. Pam Hutchinson out of Fort Lauderdale at 5'8", 135 May half. Katie Cooper now does a good job of rotating back and puts Hutchinson down. That's what Buddy Atkinson talked about. That straight style of skating did not serve her well, but the jam was cut off. We ran out of time, no points.
Well, and Mindy Smith, in typical showgirl sizzle style, takes her helmet off, Ken. We saw Kim Hart going around in the first jam without her helmet on. We saw Mindy Smith take it off here, just like Deion Sanders does sometimes for the Cowboys. They start to show too much sizzle, lose some substance. They may give the Rustlers a chance by doing so.
And now this is something we don't see too often. Shay Brown, the biggest and the most physical of the showgirls, putting on a jammer helmet. She's being pursued by Talisa Miller, Tink out of Cincinnati, Ohio. Renee Blevins might be the spark plug, but as far as I'm concerned, Talisa Miller, the go-to gal, and she shows why right there as she puts down Shay Brown. Miller, 5'6", 140 out of Cincinnati, and somebody needs to step up their play and get the Rustlers on the board, and right now it's up to Talisa Miller. She takes the elbow elbow for Katie Cooper. Cooper doing a good job in this game of blocking out the Rustlers, but now you see Miller winding through. She passes Katie Cooper. That's how you score in the WSL. Once you've lapped the pack and passed a member of the opposing team. Now she does the same to number 37, Mandy Osborne, and finally cuts off the jam, but she ties this one up at 2 apiece.
Well, and you saw Tink Miller take advantage of what I was just talking about, Ken. Shay Brown broke out, did a little celebrating much too early. She allowed Tink Miller to knock her down, come around unimpeded, score points for her Rustlers, and let them get quickly right back in here.
That's exactly what Texas needed when we talked about it earlier, that somebody from the Rustlers has to step up and show the way via their leadership. Shay Brown, very frustrated over that jam, refused to give up the jammer helmet, so she keeps it on, and she's out jamming in the lead.
And let's see if she does any celebrating this time, because last time it got her in trouble. Obviously, she's not.
And also coming up now is Kim Hart, and sandwiched in between one of the Texas Rustlers, I think that is Talisa Miller once again, and down go Miller and Kim Hart, and now it's all up to Shay Brown. She passes one of the Rustlers you saw fly over the railing, and now she goes by 48 Miller. 2 points are ready for Shay Brown. Shay Brown winding her way through the entire pack, picking up 3 and now 4 points, and Shay Brown calls off the jam, but a big 4-point jam for Shay Brown, and the Dice are up 6-2.
Well, and she did a great job because she stayed focused, Ken. Like I mentioned, she didn't celebrate like she did last jam when it got her in trouble. Instead, she kept her hat on, she kept her nose to the grindstone, scored points, allowed her physical presence, she's a very large young lady, to take effect, and she did a great job for her Nevada Hot Dice.
It's something the Dice needed. We have talked about it, very honestly, a lot of people have been a little disappointed in the play of Shay Brown. Not that she's not been a contributor, but we're really looking for her to step up and get more out of her, and certainly 4 points on that jam may go a long way to doing just that.
And Mindy Smith once again breaks out for the Nevada Hot Dice women, Ken. We've seen her get out early and often, but she's not going to have time to do much. As she takes off her helmet, let's check out Rollywood.
Roller Rules, brought to you by Dial 1-800-AT&T for collect calls.
I'm Sean Corbin, head official of the World Skating League. I figured it's time you learn the rules from someone who actually knows the rules.
The most important job for a referee is to determine how many points are scored on a jam. A point is scored every time a jammer laps an opposing skater. Here, Denise Loden is passing members of the California Quakes. Although she passes them several times, she only receives 1 point for each one that's lapped. Here, Loden whips Debbie Rice past Brooke Sunderman. But before Rice falls off the jam, Sunderman passes her back. Does Rice get the point? Yes, she does. Because once she passes the other skater, the point is there for good. Now you know the rule.
We'll be back right after this.
Hot Dice 6, the Texas Rustlers 2. Welcome back, everyone. The men are on the track as we're getting ready to start the second period. Without question, the story of that first period, Shay Brown of the Nevada Hot Dice, a very complete game. She scored 4 points, and Hawk, she assisted on the other 2, and it's really the first time we've seen a complete game out of Brown.
Well, I don't want to gloat because I talked about her before the game as being somebody to watch for, but it's great to see a fresh new face here in the World Skating League, and Shay Brown is one of those fresh new faces. Right here you see her give the big whip to her teammate, Mindy Smith, and of course, she goes around, scores the points. Hats off to Shay Brown.
And starting for the Texas Rustlers, Brian Gallagher, Bill Daly, the wild man Chris Cheadle, the speedster Sigmund Williams, and Bill Roquevert. For the Nevada Hot Dice, P.J. Rossi, Mark Weber, Captain Richard Brown, Randy Garrett, and Vinnie Mormondo. And there, of course, the card girl. I was waiting.
Words are not necessary.
I knew there was going to be a deep breath coming. I had no doubt. And we are back. It is 6-2, the Nevada Hot Dice, but breaking right away. This is Brian Gallagher for the Texas Rustlers. He is certainly their go-to skater, and on the other side, it is P.J. Rossi, and down goes Rossi. Brian Gallagher, 5'10", 160, all alone, and Brian, part of the taking a page from the Nevada Hot Dice, playing for the crowd, playing for the camera, but trailing 6-2. Brian, you might want to think about trying to catch up to the pack while you still got some time left in this jam. Now, working back in the rotation with the Nevada Hot Dice, you see Captain Richard Brown trying to block out Gallagher, also beginning to drift back as Mark Weber's added insurance policy. We'll see what kind of luck Gallagher has against Richard Brown. And now Gallagher begins to run out of time. We talked about him pausing as we're under 10 seconds. Brown doing a good job. Now you see referee Sean Corbin waving it off. Now Richard Brown is going back after him. The referees are awarding Gallagher a penalty point. Richard Brown skated backwards against the pack. It's illegal in the WSL. Good call by Sean Corbin. Referee's discretion. Gallagher picks up one hard-earned point.
Well, and again, Brian Gallagher, ever since early in the season when he was traded from the California Quakes, Ken, has had a chip on his shoulder. And I don't know why he was celebrating early in that jam, but he was wasting valuable points or valuable time, valuable energy. And again, it came back to haunt him, which has been typical for these Texas Rustlers all season.
There you see Richard Brown serving a one-jam penalty in the penalty box. Chris Cheadle, the wild man, out jamming for the Texas Rustlers. We've talked about it so many times. The Rustlers, flashes of brilliance. They've got some great skilled players. They just can't put it all together. Now Micah Martin takes down the wild man, Chris Cheadle. Micah Martin, green hair and all. What a very quick skater now. He's focusing fully on the pack, flying around the track.
Well, what allowed him to catch up, Ken, again, was Chris Cheadle celebrating, allowed Micah Martin to catch up. Bad job by Chris Cheadle.
And here comes Jason McDaniel flying around the pack, number 36. They say he's the fastest skater in the WSL. Martin and Jason McDaniel doing a good job winding through the pack. Micah Martin in the lead, but over Jason McDaniel leaps over one of the Texas Rustlers. And now finally Martin and McDaniel together cut off the jam. 3 points for Micah Martin, 2 points for Jason McDaniel. And yes, indeed, Jason McDaniel is back.
Well, and Jason McDaniel, this is the first chance we've had him pressed into duty. He and Mark Weber are roommates, Ken. They're great friends on and off the track. They live together. Mark Weber was devastated by the loss of him early in the season. You're going to see him really play for his Nevada Hot Dice and pave the way a lot for Jason McDaniel here from Nevada Hot Dice.
This is the absolute last thing the Texas Rustlers needed, was to let an opponent jump out to a big lead. That's exactly what the Hot Dice have done. Talk about a big lead right now. Vinny Mormondo flying around the track. So far, the only jammer out. Now, finally, Sigmund Williams is able to break free, but it's Vinny Mormondo, 5'8", 140. But you see the speed of Sigmund Williams, how quickly he closed the gap. He was almost a full half a lap back, and the big elbow takes down Mormondo. Now, Sigmund Williams, 6'1", 165, tall and lanky, a speedster, has the opportunity to put his team back in this one. But Mark Weber dropping back to block out, as is Richard Brown. The two, Weber and Brown, do a great job of rotating at the back of the pack, keeping their eye on the opposing jammer. And so far, Mark Weber has needed no help whatsoever as he's handling Sigmund Williams all by himself. The other jammer's not even able to get out. Finally, a body block by Mark Weber. Now, wait a minute. Richard Brown goes back, goes right to the knee of Sigmund Williams.
Well, and Sigmund Williams, along with Brian Gallagher, had just represent the frustration of the Texas Rustlers. Ken, these guys have all the talent in the world, but they've never been able to put it together. Sigmund Williams has unbelievable speed. He's a big son of a gun. You saw some of that against Vinny Mormondo, but then you see him totally annihilated by Mark Weber and taken advantage of by little Richard Brown.
Now, Buddy Atkinson, let me ask you, what can Richard Brown be thinking of? His team is a leading 11-3, a deliberate attack, trying to injure. He goes to the penalty box, and now suddenly Texas has a man advantage.
He's basically trying to intimidate this other team a great deal, and it's not going to work because I think they're going to be outskated here.
We will find out. It's finally breaking through for the Texas Rustlers. This is 45, Craig Fisher, along with Jason McDaniel. Craig Fisher shows a lot of potential, but sometimes that's the worst description in that he's never fulfilled any of the potential. We'll see if he can right now. Jason McDaniel, and Fisher sends McDaniel right out over the railing. I think McDaniel got caught a little hard. Remember, he's just back from a broken collarbone, still a little unfamiliar with going around the back track, and the lack of that experience certainly cost McDaniel right there. Now remember, McDaniel is part of it, so Fisher already picked up a point, or should be picking up a point, for going past Jason McDaniel. Now McDaniel's able to get back up on the track, and that's the second time he goes by him, so 2 points for Craig Fisher, passing Jason McDaniel as we run out of time in the jam.
And Buddy Atkinson Jr. talked about the return of Jason McDaniel, that he's a hard worker. Well, one of the things he's got to do is get some physical shots to his body that he's not used to get his sea legs back, so to speak, Ken. Well, shots like that from Fisher, he's going to get it back pretty quick, and he will soon materialize as a great player here that they expect to these Nevada Hot Dice.
We'll see if the hot dice can prevent the Texas Rustlers from getting any fiercer momentum going in this one. It's been a long while since we've seen any offensive production from Texas, and I think they're just going to run out of time in this one. Micah Martin breaks free, but time runs out, and the Nevada Hot Dice lead this one by a score of 11-5, and Hawk once again flashes of brilliance for Texas, can't put anything together.
Well, and I think this was epitomized early as little Richard Brown is not willing to let this the sleeping dog lie as he goes after Bill Daly, one of the largest men on the track. But you saw that Mark D'Amato came out of the stands to his aid, kid.
And now Sean Atkinson is involved. We've talked about the alliance between Mark D'Amato and Richard Brown. Sean Atkinson coming out of the stands. He had evidently had enough. Oh, daddy, it's all breaking loose here. It's halftime. It's 11-5. Hot Dice. We'll be back. 11, the Texas Rustlers 5. We're at halftime. Welcome back, everyone, to Roller Jam Arena. I'm Ken Resick, along with Lee Merriman and Buddy Atkinson Jr. About what we expected, the Nevada Hot Dice off to a big start, led by the game's leading scorer, Shay Brown, who picked up 4 points on her own and assisted on Mindy Smith's other 2 points. Closing out the scoring for the Nevada Hot Dice, Micah Martin had 3, Jason McDaniel 2. For the Texas Rustlers, it was Tink Miller coming up with 2 points, Craig Fisher with 2 points, and Brian Gallagher with 1 point. Now, Buddy, what does Texas need to do to get back into this one?
I'll tell you what they need to do is use their big guns, Miller, Heisner, Johnston, and Gallagher, Fisher, and Williams, and get in there and start banging away. These are good skaters. They are dang good skaters, and they can do the job.
I don't think there's any question. They've got the skilled players. They just need to put it all together. And certainly, Hawk, Jason McDaniel came into this game with a big buildup. Some people questioned it, but boy, he answered those suitors very quickly.
Well, we talked about the collarbone and the loss of Jason McDaniel earlier in the season, but I've just got to take my hat off to little Richard Brown. We know he's a Looney Tune when he's on the track, but this guy during the week teaches his players fundamentals. You see Micah Martin taking down Chris Cheadle with, we always talk too much about it, but powerful play coming out of Micah Martin. And a little bit later, that Jason McDaniel you just mentioned, he may be coming back from a collarbone, but he's not afraid to bring some heat to Craig Fisher.
And certainly we talk about the women's play here in the World Skating League, and believe you me, they can get as rough and tough as the men. Take a look.
Hair-pulling, cat-fighting mistresses of mayhem, the bad girls of the WSL have clawed their way into the spotlight of the bank track. Led by the Duchess of Destruction, Heather the Gun Gunnin', the New York Enforcers, Sisters of Suffering, embody pure nastiness.
The prettier their face is, the more pleasure I get out of smacking it on the track.
These women of wrath won't stop until they've destroyed their competition.
All the precious little Barbie dolls in this league best be prepared to get their arms ripped off.
Another gang of savage seductiveness are the Nevada Hot Dice Showgirls. Blessed with both beauty and brawn,
I have no problem looking this good and kicking ass at the same time.
the Showgirls stomp skaters and strut their stuff. Don't mess with the bad girls of the WSL.
Well, as you just saw, the Nevada Showgirls may look very appealing, but they get down and dirty, and they are standing by with our Broadway Danny Wolf. Danny?
All right, Showgirls, you guys enjoying a 6-point lead at halftime. And let me start with you. You smile at the camera. Look,
hey, because, baby, these girls are nothing. They got to go back to the ranch because they stink. Woo!
I think they took some of the cows with them today. That's what I think.
let me ask you, Shay Brown, in the first half, you guys skated great. I guess Renee Blevins, Laura Heiser, Talisa Miller, you've never skated against this team before, but you guys were all over them.
Doesn't matter. They suck. I mean, there's no competition for us. They need to go back to Texas where they belong. That's all I got to say.
We're talking with the Showgirls. It's halftime. They're up by 6 points. Back to you, Ken and Hawk.
One thing for certain, the Nevada Showgirls are, one, never at a loss for words, and two, have an uncanny ability to always know where the camera is. Now, in that first half, one of the big plays, other than, of course, Shay Brown's tremendous performance in the first period, was a play in which Nevada scored 5 points, combining Jason McDaniel's skills with Micah Martin's. And, buddy, that 5-point play really began to put this game on a reach, kind of take us through, because it really illustrates well the entire playmaking ability of the Hot Dice.
Right. Now, watch this. McDaniel's back here, but here comes a screen with Martin. Also, you got Webb moving down here through the inside, but watch this beautiful little jump. Takes his man right out, and I mean a big out. Bang! He hits him with everything he's got. That man's moving. Down he goes. Now, this is interesting. Real quick thinking. McDaniel's over the top, Really nice. Look at the clearance here. Look at the clearance. The man comes down. Beautiful. Contact on the ground. That's beautiful. What a play.
But I'd have to agree with you. The 5 points, at least it's a great play if you happen to be in Nevada hot dice. On the other side, Hawk, Texas has some work to do to get back in this one.
They have some work to do, and Buddy just talked about the three-piece suit for the Nevada hot dice. Well, these Texas Rustlers have a three-piece suit of their own, Ken, and these guys, if they can put it all together, and I'm talking about Craig Fisher, Sigmund Williams, and of course the other fella, Brian Gallagher, these guys are always playing separately, but good. They got to put it all together in one quarter. If they can do that in one period, these Texas Rustlers are somebody to look out for.
Well, with the score, the Nevada Hot Dice 11, the Texas Rustlers 5. We'll be back with the third period right after this. And there you see the fact that both teams will be skating shorthanded as those penalties carry over the World Skating League. Richard Brown penalized along with one of the Rustlers at the end of the second period, so we start 4-on-4 here in the third period as they come around, and the Texas Rustlers have got to get something going. They're in danger of being blown out, and it's number 44, Amy Becker, out in the lead for the Rustlers, being chased by Laura Weintraub, and it's Mindy Smith coming up, pulling the rear as the other jammer out for the Hot Dice, along with Renee Blevins for the Texas Rustlers. And certainly Laura Weintraub's job now is just to prevent any scoring with the dice in a big lead.
Well, and Laura Weintraub, we've talked about her never living up to her potential. She's gotten out and is doing a pretty good job today, Ken.
And now they close in on the pack and back to try and block out Weintraub is number 49, Carrie Johnston. But she didn't need to worry because Weintraub took down both the Nevada Hot Dice jammers, and Weintraub very alert. The first one getting back up, and now she is closing out Carrie Johnston. Johnston 5'5", 150. We'll see what Weintraub can do. A spin around move sends Johnston right into the rail, completely fakes her out. Weintraub cuts it off after picking up a point. The Rustlers very unhappy.
Well, I'm going to send Laura Weintraub a thank you card for making me look so smart, Ken. But I'll tell you, we're seeing a little bit of fire under the backside of Laura Weintraub as she's getting it up. She's mixing it up with the roughest and the toughest of the Texas Rustlers, the spark plug, Renee Blevins. But Laura Weintraub, we saw her take down two of the Texas Rustlers first, and then we saw a great spin move to score the points for her Nevada Hot Dice.
And Laura Weintraub, a former women's hockey player, certainly learned that spin move on the ice, and boy, it worked to perfection right there. And again, the Hot Dice building a big lead. It is now 12-5. And the Texas Rustlers have fallen into this trap so many times. They fall so far behind, they basically begin to give up, feel they cannot catch up to the other team. Whether that happens again, we'll find out. Now Shay Brown giving the big whip to Mindy Smith as they come around, and this is Laura Heiser out for the Texas Rustlers. The two quickest women on their respective teams, but boy, Laura Heiser has got a lot of points to make up. And right now, Mindy Smith staying with her stride for stride, throws a knee in for added measure.
And Mindy Smith, I tell you, Laura Weintraub is materializing as a jammer for the Nevada Hot Dice. These Nevada Hot Dice are going to be a team to be reckoned with, and Mindy Smith scores the points. Great
job. A big
job.
lift for the Nevada Hot Dice, worked to perfection, and 2 more points for Mindy Smith as the Hot Dice continue to build on this lead.
Well, actually, it's being pointed out to me by Buddy Atkinson Jr. that Mindy Smith did a very heads-up job, Ken, because the lift was not performed by the Nevada Hot Dice blockers. It was actually performed by the Texas Rustler blockers, and Mindy Smith sent Laura Heiser over the railing, stole the points, scored the points. Great heads-up play.
Pretty much tells the story of the problems for the Texas Rustlers. They diagram a great play. They pull it off to perfection. What happens? They fall 2 points further behind on the scoreboard. They have got to get something going. 14-5, and it is all Nevada Hot Dice. Now, Talisa Miller, now I've got no idea why in the world, unless she's trying to take a page from Kim Hart, doing a little showboating of her own, and now they both go down. Kim Hart gets up first, has a little problem getting her balance, but here comes Talisa Miller. It is Miller and Kim Hart as they come around. The Nevada Hot Dice with a big, big lead. Talisa Miller taking exception to some of Kim Hart's antics. Gives her the elbow, sends her a little high on the track. Hart getting nowhere near the railing, so even that move didn't work very well. And now they go by. You've got body sprawl all over. Miller goes by first, as does Kim Hart. And now Miller cuts off the jam before Hart can catch up. 4 points for Talisa Miller. but Kim Hart picked up 3, so it's only a 1-point advantage.
Well, and I've got to take exception with Tink Miller, even though she scored the point that's hurt. I believe that Shay Brown get into it. But, Ken, you have to question, where is the leadership for the Texas Rustlers? You saw Tink Miller desperately in need of points early in the jam when she broke out. She starts playing to the crowd. Somebody has to step up as a leader for these Texas Rustlers.
To answer your question, it must be back in the Lone Star State, because it's certainly not here at Roller Jam Arena.
Absolutely not.
That's a given. It is still, after all that, it is still 17-9. The Nevada Hot Dice off to a big lead, and now Kim Hart once again with a jammer helmet, as is Talisa Miller. They haven't had enough of each other on the last one. This time, Kim Hart gets full advantage as she comes down. Miller very slow getting up. There's Kim Hart. She loves to play to the crowd. I'll tell you, Kim Hart has an uncanny advantage. She always knows where the closest camera is. I can't figure it out, but somehow she always knows.
And they're telling me she always brushes her teeth in between jams, Ken, so she'll have the pearly whites ready.
I just think I'm going to let that line pass. That's okay. I'll just ignore that one. Kim Hart always smiling and well as she could be, and now Miller goes high over the railing. Kim Hart wins her way through. That's what she's picked up. She works her way through. Now she picks up the second point, and with that big lead, very alertly cuts off the jam after putting 2 more points on the board for the Nevada Hot Dice.
And we were talking about watching for the Texas Rustlers to come out of the cellar. I think these Nevada Hot Dice, Ken, may be on the verge of going from the middle of the pack here in the World Skating League. They're really coming to play today, and Kim Hart, all the celebrating aside, Laura Weintraub's shown up today. Mindy Smith has really done it. These Nevada Hot Dice may be a team, unlike the Texas Rustlers, who have found some leadership and some unity.
Buddy, what does the Texas Rustlers have to do to get back in this game?
Right now, they've got to pay attention and just do basics. You see what's happening here? They're getting out of control. They've gotten away from their game plan.
Buddy, you're exactly right. As time runs out, Mindy Smith suckered Laura Heiser into fighting rather than trying to continue the jam. And it's almost an insurmountable lead right now. We'll be back. Hot Dice 19, the Texas Rustlers 9. We're back, everyone, as we get ready to begin the 4th period. The men are on the track, but a play took place in the 3rd period that very honestly typifies the Texas Rustlers season. They did a great job of setting everything up. It looked like Laura Heiser had a certain 4 points for the Rustlers. The end result, Mindy Smith scored 2 for the Nevada Hot Dice. Buddy Atkinson, it seems like it's one disaster after another for Texas, but take us through this one.
Oh, boy, let's look at this one. And again, this is a tough luck play for them, but we got a little Smith moving here real nice, real nice. Everything's set up beautifully. She sees the play developing, and what does she do? Look at this hit and push, bang, right out there to that rail, and she's now making a nice little move right through the inside, and we got the 2 points that should have been 4 for the other team.
As we start period number 4, there's no question the Rustlers have dug themselves a very deep hole. Buddy Atkinson, you're coaching the Texas Rustlers. What can they do to get back in this?
I'd get Gallagher moving his butt a little more and get out there on some jams and do the business that he can do.
Well, right now what they're doing, buddy, they've got Sigmund Williams going out against Jason McDaniel. McDaniel turns right around, takes Williams down. Now remember, that is not a penalty. He was allowed in the WSL to stop in his tracks as long as he doesn't skate backwards against the pack. So it is a perfectly legal move in the WSL. That's the reason there was no penalty. Now McDaniel is closing in and back to try and block him out for the Texas Rustlers, number 48, Bill Roquevert. And he puts McDaniel down. Oh, Mark Webber rolled their bones over Roquevert, and Jason McDaniel goes right around and puts up a point.
Well, and if you're looking for team speed out of the Texas Rustlers, that's a showstopper, the roll them bones. And you see little Richard Brown, he has to be pleased with his protege, number 37, Mark Webber. But Jason McDaniel takes it to Sigmund Williams a little bit. Jason McDaniel will usually showcase his speed, not his blocking ability, but right there, roll them bones. And Bill Roquevert may not know what planet he's on, much less where he is here in the World Skating League. Wow.
Richard Brown again, the Pearl Harbor attack after the play in the penalty box, a 1-jam penalty. It is 20-9, and Buddy Atkinson, perhaps the Texas Rustlers have been listening. They send out Brian Gallagher with a jammer helmet going up against Jason McDaniel. We'll see if he's able to do what you told him to do. That's get his tail in gear. And along with Gallagher, it's number 45, Craig Fisher, McDaniel, and Micah Martin. Down goes McDaniel. It is Gallagher and Craig Fisher. And Micah Martin gets set into the rails, keeps his balance, and slows down. The Rustlers now, for the first time, I think, in this game, have 2 jammers out to only 1 jammer for the Texas Rustlers. And right now, it's Brian Gallagher closing on the pack. Fisher dealing with Micah Martin. Gallagher goes around Mark Webber for 1. Now he goes right around Randy Garrett. Goes around Jason McDaniel. What a move by Brian Gallagher. And Craig Fisher comes up and does the same. Buddy Atkinson, they're making you look like a genius as they finally call it off, but they each pick up 3 points, and suddenly the Rustlers are right back in this.
Well, they're right back in. They picked up a bunch of points, but you're absolutely right, Ken. These guys must have a little mic pack coming from Buddy Atkinson Jr. and the Texas Rustlers. They looked as stunned as we are. I'm not sure that they know how to take being back in a game this late in it, and they pulled within 5.
Well, the key now is going to be whether the Rustlers could close the gap even further. You're exactly right. This is as close as they've been in a long time in the WSL. Without question, that last jam, the best we have ever seen out of the Texas Rustlers. And now as they come around, it is 2015 still, but the Rustlers on the move. They send out Sigmund Williams going up against number 34, P.J. Rossi. Smart move here by the Hot Dice. Rossi has not been out as a jammer for a while. Hopefully he's got the size and speed to contain Williams, but it is not to be the case. Here comes Sigmund Williams now closing. You see little Richard Brown is brought back in the rotation. He's going to try and block out Williams. Also coming back is Mark Webber. And the Texas Bulldog from little Richard Brown. That's one way, and now again Richard Brown goes back at it. Goes after Sigmund Williams once again. But a very smart play by the officials. They award Williams a 1 penalty point because Richard Brown deliberately prevented him from scoring. Smart heads-up play, but Sigmund Williams is down and in a bad way.
Well, little Richard Brown, while he celebrates, we'll be back right after this.
Available for the first time and only through this.
Richard Brown is familiar position in the penalty box. I'm not quite sure that Brown may not be trying to homestead that penalty box, but if you have just joined us, let me set the stage. So far in this 4th and final period, the Nevada Hot Dice have scored exactly 0 points. The Texas Rustlers have scored 7 to bring themselves right back in it, and now it's Brian Gallagher out as the lead jammer.
Well, but in the last jam, Ken, I talked about these Rustlers being in a position they're not used to with a chance to win. If we were watching the New York Enforcers, they always find a way to get it done, whether it's sending Big Ten Washington out as a jammer or doing something crazy with their personnel. Let's see if these Texas Rustlers can pull something out of a hat and win a victory because they're not used to doing it this late, Ken.
And it is Brian Gallagher and Craig Fisher. Remember, these two early in this period accounted for 6 big points in a jam. If they could do it again, it would be unbelievable. Now Randy Garrett back to try and block out, and he does just that. Craig Fisher goes around. We'll wait. I don't think the referees awarded any scoring. They're saying that Fisher leaped and went outside the track, went high. Sean Corbin is waving off the penalties. A very, very tough break for Craig Fisher, and well, the Showgirls are celebrating. They caught a real break. Sean Corbin sending Gallagher to the penalty box. There's the reason right there, the illegal block, waved off the points. What a tough, tough break for the Texas Rustlers. How many times have we seen it when they had the opportunity and they just plain do something stupid?
Well, not only does Brian Gallagher have to go to the penalty box, but little Richard Brown comes out, Ken, so they went from being a man up to the Texas Rustlers to being a man down late in the game. They may be self-destructing, like I said.
They have closed within 4 as we're running out of time. Brian Gallagher in the penalty box urging his team on, and right now coming around, that's number 45, Craig Fisher, for the Texas Rustlers, and closing is number 33, Micah Martin for the Nevada Hot Dice. Down goes Martin, a big opportunity right now. We'll see what Fisher can do. He runs smack dab into Mark Webber. Richard Brown standing guard as well. What does he do? Absolutely nothing. Meanwhile, Micah Martin goes around, picks up 2 points, calls it off, and that's how it ends. The Nevada Hot Dice 22. The Texas Rustlers, a valiant effort, but only 16.
And Ken, I challenged these Texas Rustlers to try to get it done late in the game. They weren't able to do so, unlike Mark D'Amato, who embraces little Richard Brown, and these Nevada Hot Dice are victorious.
Indeed they were. The final score, once again, the Nevada Hot Dice 22, the Texas Rustlers 16. Buddy, for Texas, once again close, but no cigar.
I'll tell you what, I wouldn't give up on the Texas team yet. They're a young team, and they're going to come around, and I'm telling you what, they're going to work together better.
And Hawk, certainly the Nevada Hot Dice gel today on all pistons.
Well, and again, hats off to little Richard Brown. I said it before that these three Texas Rustlers of Gallagher, Fisher, and Sigmund Williams were going to have to put it together. Well, Fisher scored 3, and Gallagher scored 3, but Sigmund Williams only scored 1, and at the end was a punching bag for little Richard Brown again. Little Richard Brown somehow finds a way to get it done, Ken.
And speaking of little Richard Brown, our Broadway Danny Wolf is standing by with what I like to call the unholy alliance.
Mark D'Amato and little Richard Brown. And let me say something. You keep yelling bad is good, bad is good. You know what? Bad stinks. If bad is good means going out and crippling skate, it's not funny. You're going out and injuring players. You even said, I'm out to cripple. If I take their knees out, then they can't skate. I heard you say that.
If the knees go, so they go. And if they can't take it, let them go play some whippy football or hockey or something.
Well, I mean, you guys are going out intentionally trying to injure skaters.
Bad is good. It's domination through devastation. We will conquer this league. We will stop at nothing. Brown and I will take this league all the way to where we want it to go, where we are in control.
And we will take care of anybody, skaters, announcers, referees, medical doctors, cameramen.
What do you mean announcers?
It doesn't matter who you, if you get in our way, we're going to destroy you. And you better watch out for your knee.
We just heard from Richard Brown and Mark D'Amato, the founders of Bad, and they say bad is good. Well, the Hot Dice were good tonight. They win the game by 6 points. Back to Hawk and Ken.
Devastation through domination. Those guys need evaluation.
I'll tell you, Richard Brown better be careful. He's already been suspended once. We're all out of time. For all of us at Roller Jam, I'm Ken Resnick. We'll see you next week. So long, everybody.